A leader has to take the risks. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good. Oh my God, finally.
Well, it's in the making, man. It's been a long time in the making. So what's going on? What's new?
Nothing. Let me just put up the volume because I always have it such a low volume. Nothing much. Just
Looks like you've been having fun though. I mean, you've been doing a lot of partying and hanging out with friends and enjoying well, I don't know. I mean, could it be the strike kind of gave you some time or what?
you know what? It is a little bit of it. I mean, there's
Okay.
what we do for a living right now. We're on strike, so we sort of.
Right,
But I think I've always been a person. I've learned in the business there always has to be a healthy balance, you know.
right,
And
right.
I feel like work and friends and family, you can do it. Like people are like, how do you do it all? It's like I have a healthy balance.
Right.
And my husband and I, we like to like hang out and we like to enjoy. We went out last night on a Tuesday. We went to
Love it.
dinner with some friends that are empty nesters, so they can do whatever they want. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun, and I enjoy it, and I look forward to it. Um, yeah, you work hard during the week, and then you enjoy your weekends for sure.
Yeah, but you guys have worked hard for a long time, and the truth is, you guys have built an empire of real estate. So you got a lot of passive income coming in. You're doing good. You're doing just good. So no matter what happens, I know you've been with Carabino for 22 years, right? Talent management, and but you've built an incredible portfolio of real estate. I mean, was that always your goal? Was that always your focus to make sure that, of course, you loved your business, you worked your talent agency, but at the same time you were kind of, stacking monopoly properties through the years? Is
I
that
mean, the thing is that I mean, if it, I'll credit many people for those. Thank you, by the way. But I honestly would have it all in my closet. All my money I've made. I love bags and shoes and all that. So I credit my husband, but also my sisters. My family has all been in. I learned early on buy real estate, buy real estate. Any income that you have extra, save and buy real estate. Like buy a duplex. Why buy a dream house? Buy a duplex first. Then that could pay for your. So I've always been sort of I've always been drilled that kind of information. So yeah, I mean, all the money that that I've accumulated and made, we've purchased years ago, maybe like I would say about now 15 years ago, we've bought some real estate. Obviously, those prices no longer exist now, so we're smart about what we do. But yeah, I mean, I did it. You get to a point where you don't need to do your full-time job. You could your real estate can pay for it, and that's the ultimate goal, I think.
Well, you are a perfect example of wealth on the beach, right? I mean, this is the epitome of wealth on the beach. I mean, it's building passive income so you can do the shit that you want to do, right? You don't have to do what everybody tells you to do or society tells you to do or go sit in a cubicle for the rest of your life. You could have freedom and choices and options to do your life the way that you guys want to do your life. And awesome example. Really proud of you. Very inspired. This podcast has been on hold for like a year of us just traveling and doing all kinds of other stuff. So I'm so excited to be with you today. We're going to jump right into it. I want to know though, um, what's one movie you wish your clients starred in that didn't? Like, do you have any stories like that of situations where you guys missed out on an opportunity?
Well, not necessarily missed out on the opportunity, but there was all it just pops out at me all the time. I mean, we work with Renee Zellweger, and she is an amazing mentor, beautiful friend, client. Everything I was taught not to say about a client, I say about this human being because she's absolutely amazing. But I remember a long time ago, there was a project called Monster, and it was an opportunity for her. And I remember just being, obviously she got an offer of Cold Mountain, which she won the Oscar for. So that's fine, but that was the opportunity. I know Renee would have killed that movie. It would have just been like amazing. But Charlize, it was her movie and she nailed it. But I think that one's the one that really kind of like I would have wanted to see Renee play that character, because she's just amazing at everything she does.
Well, she's a badass, and I mean, if you could have though dinner with somebody dead or alive in Hollywood or in the past, I mean, anybody come to mind for you?
Ah, um, God, there's so many people. I mean, I would honestly, Tony Robbins.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Wow, maybe that's why we get along because he's
he
one of my mentors in life. So yeah,
Yeah, he's
absolutely.
spectacular at everything he does. He cares about people. He does so many things outside of the limelight that people are not, that don't even know about. He is just a beautiful human being and such a mentor. And he's just amazing at what he does. I've read his books. I've listened to his just anything he said. I will be right there front and center, and I listen. That's the one thing a lot of people don't do. They just like, through Instagram or whatever, people do not listen anymore. You need to listen, do your homework, and have your mentors. I'm a huge believer in like, don't like, I teach my kids that I don't want them to be sort of like fan out about all these like singers and like actors and stuff, because we're just behind the scenes. I know what happens. I tell them these people are just human beings. That's what they do for a living. Pick somebody you admire, other people. Yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
Well, tell me. I mean, while we're at it, tell me something about Hollywood because you know Hollywood better than just about anybody. What are some of the
Still
lies
learning.
in Hollywood that, but like most of us, we don't understand or we don't realize or we don't, have no clue about.
Right.
Is there stuff about Hollywood that we don't understand that we don't know?
Oh, well, all the behind the scenes, and it takes a village. A lot of people think like, why isn't this movie out yet? Or why isn't, I just had the pleasure of producing a film for Lifetime, and it's a true crime story. My client and I, Wendy McClendon Covey, it was actually, the story was happening as we were on the phone, and it was like during the pandemic, and we're like, well, this is crazy. It was about Vicky White, and she was a prison guard who broke out her boyfriend that was in jail. And she risked it. She risked everything. It just was like, let's go. And she broke him out of jail, and it was like an 11-day manhunt. And I remember just thinking, this should be like a limited series or a like made for TV, like let's go. And we had the next day, I think we had a call with Lifetime about something completely different. And we all started talking about this. And I said, well, why don't, and we literally pitched it as we were on a Zoom with a bunch of executives there. And they're like, and then I think we ended the call, and then it was done. And then they called me and was like, were you serious about this? And then I think like it was 5 months later, we were in Winnipeg, Canada, shooting this film. I mean, talk about full circle, and talk about just and to see and to go through the whole experience, to see how many people are involved in one project is tremendous. It was such an opportunity, and just to see, going from picking the supporting actors to picking the director, to being a part of all of that kind of. And now it's premiering on Saturday, and we're excited for the world to see it, and pretty proud of it. And yeah, many more to come too. I think they're very happy with it, so we'll see.
So
Yeah.
I feel like you have this mindset, and I think from the day I met you, I felt like you had this different mindset that you're just a go-getter. Like let's just figure it out. Let's go do it. Let's at least pitch it. Let's talk about it. get it out there, let's figure it out, and we'll just figure it out as we go. I mean, is
Yeah.
that something that you think you're born with, or did you learn that from somebody? Where'd you get that?
I got it from my parents. And then as I grew into, like accumulating mentors, I got it from them. I've always taken a little from all my mentors and kind of combined it. And I've always stayed true to myself. My mom and dad were like, I really do feel this way. And I've always wanted to say this, but Latinos are the true creators of the side hustle. Okay. My mom and my dad had a full-time job, but we always had side hustles. So, I come from 9 brothers and sisters. I'm the 10th. Yeah, I mean, you have to have multiple side hustles to to raise that type of family, and anyway, I met John Carabino, and we ended like it's like a match made in heaven. And I mean, I forgot what was the question.
Well, you're talking about like, where did you get this
Oh, the
mindset of just
mindset.
get
I
shit done? You know?
energy. You always have to have the energy. I watch you. First of all, I wanted to congratulate you on your success. And it's so self-built, and your energy is incredibly intoxicating. I watch you, I root for you, and I'm like, I love this guy. You have to have that energy and zest for life, if you will. Like, again, it goes back to the healthy balance. I have an amazing husband, an amazing family, and they give me that balance, and he gives me also that opportunity to shine and go and do what I love. It's not an easy business. When I started, it's tough, especially for a woman trying to. That's why a lot of women in my business don't have kids, because it's hard to sort of build both. And if you find that if you find that amazing partner that will give you that opportunity and kind of build on that, and it's amazing. Magic happens after that. And I truly love what I do. I'm blessed to be in a position where my clients choose me and I choose them, and we make it work. That I don't work with people that don't I don't work with people that don't want to work with me, or vice versa. It's a handshake, like an old school handshake. There's no contract. Any actor out there, if you're asked to sign a contract for 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, don't do it. Okay? Don't ever do it. It's just you just have to honor, the opportunities that come your way, and if they're part of it, let them commission it and then move on. So yeah, I mean, yeah, anyway, I wanted to congratulate you. I really
No,
did.
no, no. Thank you so much. I
Talk about
really
having,
appreciate that.
talk about having, a multiple side gigs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky that early on, from a young age, I figured out what I wanted to do, and I ran with it. And by the way, I was 6 months in my business, and I went to my first Anthony Robbins seminar. Okay,
Wow.
so that's how aligned I am with what you're saying, because that was everything for me. I mean, I learned about my brain, I learned about how it operates, I learned how it worked, I learned how to make myself more mentally tough. I learned how to manipulate my mind to do things for me, even though I didn't feel like doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
at a young age, I figured out what a leader really was, what a leader did. I understood empathy, I understood compassion, I understood trying to help people make a difference in the world, and how people respond to that psychologically. I understood psychology at another level, learning it from Anthony Robbins. So yeah, me and you,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I get what you're saying. You're lucky because your husband is really been a supportive part, like you said. I mean, just what an incredible relationship that you guys have been able to build through the years. I had a funny question though. I wanted to ask you, like, how does your husband, sometimes feel about the fact that you're hanging out in Hollywood sometimes, and guys in Hollywood? How does that play out in the behind the scenes at your house?
He First of all, he is there. It just plays out. He's just an amazing person. There's not one jealous bone. I mean, I'm sure there is. He's a man, right? But he is just I've been on a South American tour with the sexiest man alive, literally, on the People magazine, William Levy. And he was like, I would just call in, he would ask about what was going on. And just like, I mean, I think it was like 3 weeks on private jets back and forth. And he was just so like, go get him, so encouraging. And that's just what makes him so special,
Yeah, he's a stud. He's total stud. Okay. So tell me, people out there right now. I mean, you are a talent. You look for talent. You push up talent. You build talent. What what's some recommendations? If there's people out there, they're like, all right, I want to know how to break into Hollywood. What do I do? I feel like have a talent. I've been going to school. I've mastered my craft. I'm a professional actor or actress or whatever. What's my next step into moving forward in this industry?
uh Always, sharpen your tools. Always get into a class, getting into acting classes, anything. Just like it, like, first of all, the internet is, and it's just, there's so much that you can go, but there's also acting classes there. It depends on, like, there's improv classes. I would say, even if you're not like a comedic actor, or quote unquote, I would say get into improv classes, like challenge yourself, even though you're like, it's not your thing. Just do that. Get out there, do plays, do whatever you can get in front of a camera, do it. um and I think it's a lot. You have to have some sort of, people are like, I want to get an agent. Okay, well, you want to get an agent, you need to get onto TV. How do you do that? Like, it's really hard. But you get into a play, and if you do a play, email some agents will kill me, but it's like, email some agents, that don't go for like the highest agent. Okay, but sometimes I'll get some emails, and I'm like, God bless them. I mean, I good for you, A for effort, but like, no. And I'm always really kind, and email them back and say, listen, I appreciate you, and I always give them advice, and they're all, thank you. I don't think anybody ever replies to them, so they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. But I think it's just, invite people to the play, go on to showcases. I mean, there's stuff out there. Like, you have to get out there, and but the most important thing is to always be sharpening your tools, and get into classes and all that.
How important is social media today for a
Well,
working actor or somebody trying to break into the world of acting?
well, the acting, listen, I started, 20 something years ago. So acting, winning and all, there were like triple threats. There's like, you did theater, you did acting, you did TV and all that. Like, nowadays it's a lot of YouTube, stuff going on, and they're like bigger stars than anybody. I mean, I think some actors on my roster are like, can I meet this person, or because of my kid or whatever? But I think like, the world is your oyster. Basically, you could do it all. Like, there's room for everybody in the business. I don't ever say like, oh God, YouTube stars or this. No, there's room for everybody. The business is growing. Has it grown? Absolutely. Can Instagram make you famous? Absolutely. It can. It just, for a working actor, the formula never really changes. It is basically, work hard, study, listen, take acting classes, and keep at it,
And how much would you say, like, just in your experience, how much of it is really the who you know versus what you know? Because let's be honest, right? There are some shitty actors on TV right now, or in a movie. You watch the movie and you're like, this is a horrible actor. Like, how much of it is it that maybe they knew somebody, or they just, I mean, how much of that nepotism is going
Sometimes
on
I'll watch
in?
like a film on because I know kind of like who's producing it and stuff, and sometimes I'll watch them like, well, that was a money favor.
Oh, so that's what it's called. It's called a money
There's a
favor
lot of
then.
that going on. Listen, I mean, it's that with streaming nowadays and all that, there's just so much more content. I mean, before it used to be like, CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, and those were the channels, that you would see TV. But now it's just becoming, it's such a, so there's room for everybody, bad and good.
And do you like the direction? Because somebody said the other day, they're like, Hollywood's dead, and like, what's your thoughts on that? Because some people say that, again, everything is going to the streaming, and Hollywood is going to be, toast in 10 or 20 years. I mean, what's your thoughts about that?
God, I hope not. I'm still, no, I don't think it's toast. I think it's just growing. People have a hard time with change, and I think it's growing and it's evolving. And if you can't beat them, join them. And I'm constantly, there's just different, like even with commercials nowadays, we used to get opportunities and endorsement opportunities for clients to do commercials, and then it would run from for 2 years, and then it would run. Now it's not that anymore. It's one-offs. It's like, can she do a post on Instagram for X amount of money, and then if she does a story, then we just build it from there. I think those opportunities are awesome, because once the 2 months is up, then she can go and do something else. Obviously, don't oversaturate yourself. If I can give any advice out there, people tend to sort of like have this this platform on Instagram or whatever, and then they oversaturate the marketplace. And people are super smart. Like, people are like, I'm gonna start unfollowing you, and people stop listening. I think that's the main, you just have to be very careful and strategic on what brands you want to associate with and stuff.
So you're saying, when you're talking about saturation, you're talking about maybe they're associating themselves with too many brands, and they're doing too many campaigns and things like.
Yeah, anybody that's offering them an opportunity. It's like, sure. It's like, do your homework on these people. There's a reason why these pharmaceutical companies and all these other they pay big money for actors to be on a commercial. When you see a commercial and you see an actor associated with it, they're not only paying big money, but there has to be some sort of connection with that actor and that cause. It's just a risky thing. So you got to bring the dollars for that one,
So if they're saying yes to all these different brands, then eventually people are like, well, wait a minute, he can't be aligned with this many brands, and so it's just going to not feel authentic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the advice that you would probably give somebody is, hey, look, now what about visibility on social media? I mean, I don't know if you guys talk about this with your clients or have these conversations, but like, is there some sort of algorithm or metric that you would tell somebody maybe that trying to enter your type of business, to say, okay, you should post once a day, you should post once a week, you should post, like, is there any sort of strategy to any of that you would advise somebody?
Not really. I mean, we don't I think if you were representing like YouTube stars and all that, then of course that would be, but we don't lead with that. We lead just differently. But listen, I'm not an idiot to not think that, when we pitch these actors for certain projects, that it's not going to be about like, hey, she has 5 million followers. That's automatic, when she's ready to promote this project. And especially if it's an indie project, then people are going to pay attention. So, of course that helps. Some of our clients don't, like, Chris Pine, he doesn't have social media. Renee, like, a lot of our clients don't have social media. And I kind of appreciate that. They don't need it. They're big stars,
Well, no, I think you're right. Well, it's kind of like, I think about this in my own business and in my own life. There's no question, like, I am so different than I was 25 years ago, just starting in business. When I started in business, I was tougher, I was harder, I was grittier, I worked harder, I was after it, I was on it, And I think that over the years, 25 years later, I've been in my business for 25 years. I can't believe it, but I mean, after 25 years, I'm like, yeah, great 25, man. But But seriously, and somebody told me this the other day. I did a little talk with some of my leaders the other day, and they're like, "You're so much softer. Like you are such a little,
Yeah.
teddy bear compared to 20 years ago."
Yeah.
And so I think though, when you look at like a Chris Pine or you look at a Renee or somebody who doesn't have a social media, and then you go,
I mean,
well,
talk
well,
about,
let's be honest, they're rich, but they're rich. They already made it, and again, they made it without the social media.
mhm.
So I think that now, if they were to have to start over, like for me, I didn't have social media ever growing up in the business. And then of course I got it after,
Yeah.
I had already made it. Then I started social media. But then you go, well, if they were starting all over, would they try to get to that 5 million followers? I don't know.
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know, but yeah, I mean, social media is it's such a beautiful platform. And I'm sure
Right.
obviously your business has grown from that. I just I look at social media as a positive as opposed to a negative. Sure, there's a lot of negative to it with bullying and all these people and self-image and all that. But like I like my kids, some of the girls at my daughter's junior high, they have social media. She hasn't even asked because she knows. Um, Absolutely not. And when you're ready, fine. It's a world is already hard enough, enough for them in junior high than to go and look. Like I said, it's just there's stuff, there's good and bad to everything in life. You know, I feel like you teach your kids to be positive and teach them to be great human beings, and they'll see through the negative.
Well, that's number one, man. You raise your kids to be good human beings that, I don't know. For me, I mean, I want them to love America. I want them to love their family. I mean, that was always my game plan. You were a badass. You were voted one of the most influential Latinas. And so, tell me about how did that affect you, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I never like it's interesting because I don't ever like this is the one thing I'm learning. I like talk about later in life. Like I don't ever celebrate myself. I just move, move, move. I've learned to kind of slow down and appreciate the moment and appreciate times. Like, it's important to like every opportunity is a challenge to me, but like I constantly want more, 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 more. That was my mentality back, when I was starting out. Now it's like stop, enjoy, and that's kind of how I've been. I mean, when people celebrate you and say nice things about you, of course it's nice to hear and I appreciate it. But it's still like you live with that imposter syndrome. I don't know. I know it's probably not politically correct to say it, but it is. At the end of the day, it's like, do I deserve this? Do I, sometimes people say nice things and you're just like, oh, oh, okay. You're talking about me, but it's nice. It's really nice to be recognized, and especially for Latinas. In this business, there's not a whole lot of us, Latinos, Latinas, however you want to say it, but there's just not a whole lot of us. So when we meet each other in the business, I just recently met an agent who is amazing, and her and I think we just met because we were like two Latinas in the business. We hit it off. She was great and super smart, super like is going places. I talked to her at lunch. I'm like, we should mentor more Latinas. Like, I think that, and before I wouldn't say that because I would lead with just me. It wouldn't be like, I have this, I'm a Latina. I need to mentor more Latinos. But you do. You need to give them opportunities because when you look at the business, the way I started in the business is very unconventional. It wasn't, I kind of just landed in the business. And then I realized like, oh, I didn't know I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, but I want to do this for the rest of my life. So, and I had great opportunities with great mentors and great people.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the right place at the right time. But listen, they don't keep dummies around, right? You got to like work it. I've been in this business 20 plus years on the highest level. And I'm really proud of myself. And it took a lot for me to say that because again, never celebrate myself. But it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, I that's awesome. and I want to give that opportunity to others, and not only Latinos, but just to other people in general, like other ethnicities. I think, just in general.
No, I think that what you're saying is right on. I mean, there's no question. We all, by the way, we all have that. I mean, there was many, many times. I mean, I had to overcome so many limiting beliefs early on. I mean, as a young Mexican kid, and by the way, I'm a little height, challenged as well. So I always thought about myself as a short, uneducated Mexican little kid. That was my thinking at the age of 21 going into business. I was a bad boy. I got in a lot of trouble growing up. Too much drinking, too much smoking, too much fighting, all the shit you're telling your kids not to do. I did it, all of it. And I just feel like when I started in business, man, I was like, oh my God, they're paying me what? A
Hmm.
couple of years later, I'm making all this money. I got all this passive income. I'm, breaking records. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm going, there's just no way. And then I looked at my stepfather, which loved my stepfather to death, but he's got a master's degree, student of the year, USC.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm making this amount of money, and he's making. I mean, he still was making good money, but he was making many times over what he was making. So talk about imposter syndrome, right? Going, oh my God, how could this be? And thank God I overcame that, because I think it would have torched my future if I wouldn't have figured that out early on. And I think that what really changed my life is when I decided that I was going to go master my craft. And I was so what happened is I got so good at the business, like you were saying, you got to really work hard. You got to really get in there and do your shit, because they might hire you as a dummy, but you're not gonna stay as a dummy. You know what I mean? And that was my thinking. And once I got good at this thing, man, it felt so good to just continue on and grow. And I want to know your thoughts on what's going on with the strike, man. I mean, what's happening? What's the strike about? So everybody can kind of figure it out. What's right about it, what's wrong about it, what's your thoughts about when it's going to end? What's going on?
Well, when it's going to end, I wish I knew it. I hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to get to a better place. I mean, the strike is about a lot of things. It's not only about AI, which is a real thing, and I feel like a lot of people think AI is only with actors and like in the entertainment business, but it is absolutely coming for everybody's job. Okay, so just know that. So regulations on that absolutely need to be. And I think with actors, it's a lot of it's a lot. It's not only it's the pay gap. Okay, so like I said, the new media, which is no longer new media, the streaming is no longer a new media. It's been around. So I'm on the front lines of the negotiations with that kind of stuff, and it's mind-boggling to be able to do these deals with Netflix and all these other streamers. I won't
Mm-hmm.
single out Netflix. I mean all the other streamers like Apple and all those people. Like to do these type of deals for these actors, it blows my mind and it pisses me off that they get away with highway robbery on these actors. As far as there's no residuals. It's a one-off. It's like, okay, you do this, we don't even know how good the show is doing, and we only can predict how good the show is doing because they're on the third season. Nobody's picking up a shitty show. And all kinds of stuff. There's so much. Even during the pandemic, we actors weren't going into casting rooms because they had to do Zoom, just like with the rest of the world, right? We had to, Zoom and all that. So they had to put themselves on tape, which costs money. They had to, get equipment and all that. And then they would send the tape off, and then, they would do like maybe, working actors, they would do 4 or 5 of them a week. They would have to find somebody to read with. I mean, there's so much process to go into just doing an audition. I represent a high profile actors, so they don't necessarily jump through hoops like that, but there's a lot of other actors that do, that have to do this and that have to there's a lot of money involved. So there's a lot of things, and don't even get me started on all the extras and how they're doing with AI and all that. There's just a lot. And
Oh, wow. So that means they're really, it's all computer graphics. They're putting in extras in the background as computer graphics. So the extra business is going away. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, yes, yes. AI
Wow.
is not on all, like, I think it's not like evil, it is what it is. We all have to kind of get with the program, right? But there has to be regulations on it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm completely educated on all of it, because I'm absolutely not. There's so much more to learn. But what I do know is that there's so much more to the strike than what people kind of hear. There's a lot of underbelly stuff that is like, it's just not, because we're negotiating these deals. I mean, we have people from 90210 still making residual money.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
some of them keeping them afloat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're doing a show on a streamer and you're not making, it's a one-off. And these shows are getting, I mean, you're in like Dublin, and you're in all around the world, and you're like, there's my show. And then you're like, okay, well, it got sold to other countries and I make zip. That's not okay.
That's not okay.
So.
That's not cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a new world though, Gladys. I mean, this is truly a new world of doing business and making money. So now, but the financials in this business probably better than anybody. And so, I mean, is it just total greed, or is there, like for example, okay, you make a net, because I mean, the one thing about studios, on if I was to play devil's advocate, and again, you educate me because you know better than I do, but as a devil's advocate, you say, okay, well, these guys, they're making so many shows now. It's like the human being is needing more content. Like again, 20, 30 years ago, we had a couple of channels and that was it. And it's like, if you didn't like channel 5, you turn it on channel 11 or 13 or 2 or 4 or something like that. Now it's like there's so much freaking content. It's unbelievable. So is it a part of like, okay, well, we're making so much content, we can't pay residuals, because if we paid residuals, we wouldn't make enough money and we would go out of business and we would be bankrupt. So what do you say to that?
No.
No, that's not true.
Money? Absolutely not.
They make enough money.
No,
okay.
No. Mm-mm.
So a budget for, like, say, Stranger Things or something like that. I mean, on Netflix. I mean, Netflix has enough money to take care of that show and to continue to pay residuals for these guys.
They sell it to other countries. Like when they sell it, and I mean, there was a show recently. A client was on a Canadian show. It's a series, and I wasn't a part of that deal early on, but it's a Canadian project, and then that Canadian company sold it to a network here. Now it's airing here, and she literally is driving down the street and there's billboards of her face and she gets zero. Not okay.
Not okay.
Like, well, it's nice, the visibility. I'm on like another network show, but it's like, because it's the same, she's already been paid for that. But it's just moving forward. We're all learning as far as negotiation and new media. It's still growing. AI won't be where it is now. It won't be there 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's going to advance,
It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
And it's but that's why a lot of people like say, that is, and again, I'm not pretending to act like I know everything about AI, which I'm still learning. And sometimes I go, wow, that's pretty cool. That's like amazing. But there has to be regulations, because I think it's coming for a lot of people's jobs that don't realize it. Customer service, all that, like a lot, they're not going to need human beings anymore.
Well, I've been studying AI for as long as I could remember it when it first started, and so I think I got a real good understanding on this technology. And number one, it ain't going away. You're right.
Right.
Number two, it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, and I think the scariest part of it, because I love AI, I think ChatGPT is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you're a writer,
Oh,
you're toast. If you're a writer, you're toast. I
you're
mean, this
right.
is like,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, if you're a writer of shows, I mean, literally, ChatGPT could just write a show for you, and you could just give it a couple of basic
It's
pieces
a,
of information. They could write an entire show for you,
yeah. I mean,
just like that.
I think, yes, you're right.
Yeah,
With writers, it's a scary thing as well. It's like they write something, and then so what they can do is have AI write the script, like here
that's
what
it.
you want, and then they'll hire a high profile, writer to punch it up and to
That's
give
it.
it more human, feeling to it.
Hmm, hmm.
Pay them like
A
nothing
little bit of money.
down,
Right,
what
right, right,
they
right,
would pay
right.
them, and then make a killing, and then like of course for them that is amazing, right? It works, and but like again, listen, I won't say much about that because I don't want to get in trouble, but
Right.
I think at the
No,
end,
no, no. And look, I mean, the truth is that this technology, I think, when it comes down to it, I and again, don't know a whole lot about the strike or the intricacies of it, but I would imagine that one side, the riders are saying, "Look, man, we got to, like we're here, we've been here, a part of the process with you guys forever, and like we got to start sharing the profits
yeah.
a little bit better." I mean, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to like almost like profit sharing. I mean, I work with a major stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange company, and they understand that ultimately without us, they have nothing. I mean, we are the sales, we're the sales force of the company. If all the sales force goes away, they got nothing,
Mhm.
right? So they've figured out ways as a public company to make sure that we are compensated fairly and make sure that the profits are being split accordingly, right? Because if the corporation is taking 80% of the profits and want to just give away 20% of the profits, let's throw some little scraps at the writers and actors, and we're going to screw them and tattoo them across the board each way. Ultimately, they're going to have more and more strikes, and they're going to have more and more actors and writers say, "Look, you're on your own, guys.
Yeah.
See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. I mean, we're just going to go figure out somewhere else, or we're going to go work for other countries. We're going to go work in China. We're going to go work in Russia. We're going to go work in Brazil or whatever." And so ultimately, this is it's going to be the breakdown. If Hollywood doesn't get this right, it will be the breakdown of Hollywood eventually, and
That's
that's in everything.
that's why we have to fight hard on it. I'm sorry, but
Absolutely.
with it, I listen, I'm pretty smart when it comes to negotiate. First of all, the best part of my job is negotiation. I've been doing it since I was 7 years old. And so at some capacity, I've negotiated my way through. That's all I love. And I think that there's a way, there's a way to make both parties. They're not, nobody's ever going to be happy, right? Because it's an evolving, it's gonna still continue. And 3 years from now, when the deal's up, we have to like continue. But I think it's, for the most part, is there's going to be a happy medium there. Um, that we have to meet, you know?
I think it'll happen. I
Yeah.
think it'll
I mean, it
happen.
has to happen. Hopefully sooner rather than later. November, December is a really slow time in our business. Most of the time, forever, it's just a slow time. So I predict it will probably, happen in the new year. But like this, with that said, it's people like, just because that, like, a lot of people are like, oh, your client's back to work. I'm like, no, the writer strike is different from the actor strike. But even if we settle today, the actors that have shows, I have multiple clients that have shows that should have gone back in August and start, in front of a camera, won't probably go back until like sometime next year, like, I don't know, maybe April at this point. So all the material, everything you see on TV is going to be interrupted with a lot of reality TV.
Yeah, is that kind of what's happening right now? Is like
Yeah.
everybody's filming reality
Reality
TV
TV
shows?
show you want to pitch, go pitch it because
Is
people
the
are
time to do it? All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so disasters, okay, failures, you know, things that have gone wrong in your life. I mean, you've had a pretty nice ride and a nice run in your life so far, but has there been disasters in your job, or has there been disasters in your life, or failures that maybe you can share with us, and how did you get through it?
I mean, honestly, not oh God, it's so much sacrifice, right? In the beginning, I started in the business 20 plus years ago. So it's we didn't have access to, the internet or anything to type up or whatever, like, hey, like Google or Alexa or whatever. Like, but we had to kind of like research everything. I think honestly, it's disasters, absolutely, there's plenty of them to even like, yeah, but I don't really approach things that way. I think like, listen, I'm only human, but I think every challenge is an opportunity to grow. And I've grown, and I've literally, there's been times that I'm just like, like I always, like, I got the best advice early on. Don't have a plan B, because if you have a plan B, you'll revert to it pretty quickly. And I understood what that meant. Like, once I started in the business and I was like working out in Beverly Hills and living in Downey, California, and having to drive back and forth, and work, making minimum wage. We were not making a lot of money. We're making minimum wage back then, and then they took away our overtime. So, but we still had to work. I mean, the work was still there. So 11:30 at night, I was done working, and then I was like contemplating, should I drive all the way back to Downey, because I have to be back here at 7 a.m. It just didn't. I mean, there was times when I did sleep. I mean, I know it sounds really bad, but I slept in my car. You know, I was like, I'm not going to drive all the way out there, and I was exhausted. But the sacrifice, I knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I loved this business. I wanted it so bad. I would watch these agents, especially the women, which are such badasses. Even back 20 years ago, they'd walk in their suits, and they would just like walk by my cubicle, and I'd be like, oh my God. I literally, and I still feel, and I get emotional just thinking about it. Just like really, really, I fucking want to be her. I want to be her, And yeah. I mean, I'd sometimes walk into board meetings, and I was not only the only Latina, but I was the only woman, and everybody was talking about this actor that I represented, they wanted to sign, and they were all, and it's just, it's pretty cool. And I love the business. And so disasters, absolutely plenty of them. But like I said, I turn it into a positive, you know?
So you're an eternal optimist. I mean, I can just tell. I mean, you're always looking for the silver lining. You're always looking for the better, the solution. I mean, because regardless of what disasters, we're all going to have them. I mean, I talk. That's why I talk about compartmentalization so much, because we're all going to have disasters. We're all going to have shit hit the fan. We're all going to have, I mean, come on, let's be honest. I mean, every actor, every writer is going through it right now. I mean, this is shit hit the fan right now in Hollywood, happening real time right now. And this is another plea, though, by the way, to all of the people in Hollywood and all of the athletes, all of the people that win the lotto, all of the people that even just people in regular jobs. This is again a plea to you to please save your money. Go find somebody that can help you get your wealth on the beach. Find somebody that's going to guide you financially, because man, it may not be forever. I think probably an actor or a writer or whoever that has a big break and they make a bunch of money, they might think that it's going to last forever, and it might not last. Unfortunately, it might not last forever. And you better save your money. You better get financially independent. I hope every actor and actress watches this podcast. This is great advice. I mean, great content today about the whole subject of Hollywood and talent. Do you have a formula though, Gladys? Like, is there a formula for you when you look at talent or you look at projects or movies or whatever? I mean, is there certain things, like maybe two or three things that you look for in a situation where you're like, okay, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be a great idea. I feel this one. Any sort of formula that you have on any of that, or is it just instinct?
I wish there was a roadmap to it. There isn't. I when it comes to signing meetings, I literally know it within, I don't know, 3 minutes of me. First of all, do your homework. I do my homework. When I do a signing meeting, I start a week or two in advance. I take a deep dive into these. Most of the time, they're well-known actors now, but like that they weren't back. And I'll take a deep dive into all their interviews. I will listen to interviews of them like when they were like very young. I don't even think they remember. And then I will go into the meeting quoting that or saying that or knowing that or having it in my back pocket. It's really important to do your homework. And I think I'll know within like the first 2 minutes if, because I've gone into meetings, I've been over the moon excited about this particular actor. And I'm like, oh my God, I can take their career. I can't handle it the night before. I can't. And then I'll walk into the meeting and then they'll just not be what they just won't be. That connection that I had, that I thought I had, no. I have to connect with the actor. There has to be something really special about them. And it's just an instinct. Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. But most of the time we're right. But it's like, I want to work with people that want to work with me. And you have to speak with them every day, all the time, and trust. They have to trust in you that you're working for them, as when you're not on the phone with them or whatever, or your representation of them. You know what I mean? It's a vice versa thing. But I think it's just a trust thing, and it's an instinct. Like, but yeah, I've walked into rooms where I'm like, I really want this, and then I'm like, oh no, not really, But
Are
I've
you
been
willing to give us any names? Are you willing to give us any names of somebody you walked in that room, you thought it was going to be, and you said, I know you probably won't do it, but
never,
that's
but
okay.
it's just that, you just never know. It's a connection thing for sure. It's a manager and a client thing. It's a connection thing.
Is it easier to relaunch a career or start it from scratch? What would you say?
Oh God, both are very exciting. Okay. Um, but is it harder? I don't know. It's I don't know. I guess it's both is the same, is equal, but relaunching a career is not easy. Especially because people, especially nowadays, are so quick to say like, oh yeah, I remember that show. Like, what has she been doing? Like, shit, she's been off the air for 2 years. Like, give her a break. She had a baby. She wrote a book. Like people are not forgiving. So it's definitely like, it just goes to speak about like how people are like, oh, I haven't seen anything she's done. I'm like, do you know how long it takes for Succession to do a show? I mean, to do 10 episodes, it takes about a year to do, and then another to promote it and do all that, and then full circle, and they can't do anything in between because of their contracts. You know what I mean? So it's hard to explain to people, because sometimes people are like, oh, I haven't seen her in it forever, and we're like, oh,
They
like,
have no idea. I mean, just most people don't understand the process behind the scenes. I mean, it's very complicated, especially when you're talking massive contracts, man, multi million-dollar contracts in some cases. It's a lot of it's a lot to think about. It's not just
you said,
you know
you said earlier about actors. I will say about actors, I've always been very vocal. I have a ton of younger actors at the time. Now they're older in the business, but that I don't represent, but I'm friends with, and always emailing me like, my age, like, what should I do? And I'm always the side, like, I love actors. I love them to death. I think that they're amazing humans to put themselves out there, like, hats off. But I think I'm always telling everybody, anybody in general, like even like young assistants answering phones or whatever. I was like, save your money. Don't go buy a condo. Don't go, in West LA and rent a condo or rent an apartment for, $4,000 a month. Like, figure out a way to rent a small apartment, and then just figure it out. I know it's tough because we're not all like trust fund babies, which I wasn't, but it's save your money, buy, instead of buying that first home, buy your first duplex, buy your first fourplex, or a condo, something that you can be like, okay, I'm going to rent that out, make that money. But, just there has to be, and you're always going to be like, save for a rainy day for sure. I mean, I'm the queen of living below my means,
Me too. Me too. I'm the king of living below my means all through the years. And what's interesting, kind of adding to what you're saying, is that a lot of people don't realize how long it takes for an actor or actress to really become successful. You see them get their first $1 million contract, but you don't realize that they were probably in the business for 20 years prior in some cases. And like I always tell my agents that work in my business, I always used to tell them that, because I don't know if you knew this, but I was an extra in a lot of different shows when I was about 14 years old. And did I ever tell you I was in Pretty Woman?
I think you did when I first met you.
Probably did. I probably did. So anyways, bottom line is that I actually met Paul Walker on Charles in Charge. Do you remember that show, Charles in Charge, with Scott Bale? And I met him, and he was just a no-name actor. We were both like 14 years old. It wasn't until he was like 30 years old that he got the, what's the car, the
fun note with that is
Furious, yeah.
Yeah, fun note with that is John Carabino literally created him. He
Really?
launched his career and put him in Fast and Furious. I mean, that man has
wonderful.
He's been in charge of so many beautiful careers, like Renee Zellweger, Chris Pine. I mean, put him from Princess Diary movies to, where he's at now, to the Star Trek franchise. And he's just, and to be able to work alongside him for the past, 20 plus years has been such a blessing, to call him not only my mentor, but my partner, and yeah, just, and still going strong, and very encouraging. He always told me the one thing that he won't do is hand me anything. I'm not handing it to you. You earn your your seat at the table. And once you earn it, that's when you can sit down and enjoy, but yeah, I mean, Paul Walker, wow, what an amazing human being too.
Yeah, I mean, but we all have to remember it, and in this journey of success, that it's not a shortcut. It's a journey, man. I mean, and if you're making progress and you're enjoying the ride and you're having fun and you're doing better and you're learning and you're taking classes and you're improving and reading books and watching videos and meeting new people and making new friends and building new relationships, I mean, it's an incredible fun life if you do it like that. And instead of thinking that I'm going to take shortcuts, I'm going to be lazy, I'm not going to follow through, I'm not going to be a person of my word, I'm going to not get this shit done. And then you look up 10 years from now and you're nowhere farther than you were 10 years ago. And so I just think people have to recognize that, and just like John did to you, he said, look, you're going to have to earn your shit, right? You're going to have to earn your place at the table, earn this, this success that you're having. And you did it. You rose up to the challenge. You said, look, I deserve it just as much as anybody else does. I'm going to go be somebody. I'm going to go get mine. And that's exactly what you did. And that's why I admire you so much. Well, you are a total inspiration, Gladys. This has been so much fun, so excited. And look, I want all of, and if you don't mind, I'm going to blow up your DMs for a little while, for at least a couple of days. But I want to encourage everybody to go to your Instagram and just say hi. Say, look, I saw you on Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo, and we were inspired by your story. We were inspired by your grit and your determination and your passion. I mean, what an awesome amount of passion that you exude for the things that you do. This is how everybody needs to get to at some point if they want to have success, because you can't have success if you're not willing to get passionate and enthusiastic about your life, this is your life we're talking about. And so go say hi to Gladys, give her a little, and look, worst case scenario, just tell her, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your greatness and inspiration. And so, and I'm just from the bottom of my heart, Gladys, it's been an absolute pleasure to know you, to meet you, to be inspired by you, and continue. I'm continuing to root for you and your husband and your family, your kids, and I'm always rooting for you guys. And so keep rocking and rolling. How can we get a hold of you, and what channels and websites or any of that kind of stuff? How can we get a hold of you?
God, how can you get a hold of me? I don't know.
Well, what's your Instagram? I mean, your Instagram is
No, what my name is. I mean, is it my name, Gladys Gonzalez?
I don't know. I mean, you don't know, so I guess we don't know. So, well, just look at Gladys Gonzalez on Instagram. Do you have any website? The John Carabino web, is there a website at all?
Oh, because we don't need to.
Oh, well, so there is no website then.
No, it's just we're on IMDb. We're on
IMDb. Okay, IMDb. All right. So, but if there's somebody inspiring out there somewhere, I'm sure they're going to figure out how to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
I just want people to try to connect with you in some way, if they feel like maybe there was a connection some way. And
Sure. Listen, I love people. I love people. Anybody who knows me knows that I just love connecting with people. It doesn't. I actually really love connecting with people outside of my business, and people that, because it just it's success and stuff. But it's like I love learning about especially people that are retired. I'm like, I want to dig deep. Like, what would you change? I'm like, yeah, I love everybody. So I encourage everybody to pursue what they love. I know it's easier said than done, for sure. It's, only do what you love. Well, some people are not fortunate enough to do that, but you have to have like side gigs, like build that, yeah. But thank you so much for having me. I adore you, and I'm going to root for you, and I'm your biggest cheerleader, and keep going, dude. You're freaking awesome.
I appreciate you. All right, everybody, as always, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.